In this video, we're going to talk about a very powerful, very easy to use construct called the server object, which is the star of game plumbing framework. And we're going to see how it can greatly reduce the amount of engineering work you need to do to build your game. So if we look at any synchronous server authoritative architecture, we'll see that the client and the backend generally do a few things. The client draws the game state, and as users interact with it, the UI layer produces some kind of update that's sent to the back end. The back end's going to receive that update, and it's going to update the game state, and it's going to persist that new game state and push that to the clients. And we've created something called a server object, which basically encapsulates all of this, but for a certain aspect of the game that you want to manage. So for example, you can write a server object for the player's account, or a leaderboard, or a matchmaker, a match, a map, really anything that, any mechanic, any feature where you're going to have to manage game state, you can create a server object for that. And let's look at some code. So here is an example leaderboard SO, server object. And the second we extend server object, now we're getting all of that infrastructure. So all we need to worry about is, what is our state? How's that state updated? How's that state messaged to things that want to tap into it? So we have this dictionary called scores. It's going to contain all of our high scores. And as players play, they might get a new score. They can go ahead and send that score up. We have this handler. All of our functions that handle messages are called handler, and they just process different messages that come through. This one's processing the send score message, and very simply, he's just going to add that score to his dictionary. We also have a handler for requests. Sometimes players want to see the leaderboard. So we'll go and calculate the top scores, and then we'll send down that object. And you'll notice that these objects are all strongly typed. They're whatever we want them to be. They're defined here. The other really cool thing is we just built a leaderboard in about 50 lines of code. This took me 2 hours to code. And the reason why we could go so fast is because, again, we inherited all of that infrastructure. So you didn't see any code in here about serialization or networking or persistence. That's all handled for you. All we do is we just maintain this guy scores. We make sure he's updated. We make sure that information is shared as needed, and we're good to go. We can build any construct in this fashion. And the last thing I'll say is at a certain point you have to display these scores. And we have this whole layer we call view bindings, where you can tap into any field on a server object and get that into UI, usually without needing to write any code. All right, thank you so much.